I'm embarrassed. Somehow I made it over 30 years into my life without tasting Vietnamese food. But the truth is, it may have been a blessing in disguise because it meant that I had the chance to try Vietnamese food for the very first time in the capital city of Vietnam itself. And after tasting 5 of its most iconic dishes, trust me when I say that I have been changed for the better. My name is Josh, and I am a digital nomad who lives in a different country every single month. Join me on a food tour through Hanoi, Vietnam, as I try some of the most popular food in the country, as well as discover a couple lesser-known dishes that may stand to become some of my favorite meals in the world. One dish in Vietnam is so popular that it has inspired various different local souvenirs and a slew of creatively offensive t-shirt designs. Of course, I'm talking about pho, and it is easily Vietnam's most famous noodle dish. For my first ever pho dish, I took a recommendation from my Airbnb host Phung and went to a place called Pho Tan Mai Dong. And just from the smell, I knew as soon as I walked in that this was going to be amazing. The first thing that I learned about pho, and most Vietnamese cuisine for that matter, is how do-it-yourself it all is. Pho usually consists of broth, rice, noodles, herbs, and meat. But at Pho Tan Mai Dong and many other similar restaurants, you'll also be provided with various sauces as well as chilies and limes. The mellow flavors of the noodle, broth, and meat are really enhanced by the citrus and the spice. I mean, I loved it so much. I also chose to pay a tiny bit extra for this bread thing that I had never seen before. I learned it's called Kueh, and it's almost like a big crouton that starts as this hard breadstick and becomes soft and delicious once it soaks up a bunch of the broth. I would go on to have pho many times after this in various cities throughout Vietnam, and it is prepared in so many subtly different ways in every region. It's basically a unique experience every time, and it's an icon for a reason. But pho is not Vietnam's only internationally renowned dish. Can I admit something to you? I actually did not love the very first banh mi I tried in Vietnam. I know, crazy, right? In case you aren't aware, the Vietnamese banh mi is another global culinary icon. What sets a banh mi apart from other sandwiches is that it is prepared inside of a Vietnamese baguette. It's a short baguette that differs from one that you might find in France because it's often partly made with rice flour instead of just wheat flour. The first banh mi I tried was from a pretty famous shop in Hanoi called Banh Mi Tam Hanoi. Many listings suggest that this is one of the best in the whole city. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I get where they're coming from. But what took me a moment to learn is that the definition of a banh mi is more so related to the bread than it is to the exact sandwich fillings you choose to put in it. As such, for my first sandwich, I ordered this restaurant's signature banh mi, which features a liver pate and a pork bologna. And while it was prepared well, these are not my favorite sandwich fillings personally. It wasn't until later when I recognized that I could fill the baguette with anything that I wanted and it would still be defined as a banh mi that I finally understood the vision. For example, I ordered this banh mi from a lesser known stall in Hanoi called Banh Mi 17, and it was immediately iconic. Cheesy, doughy, sandwichy goodness. Okay, I love carbs. When it comes to pho and banh mi, trust me when I say that once I tried them in Hanoi, I was eating them pretty much non-stop in cities throughout Vietnam. I'm talking about Ho Chi Minh, Da Nang, Hoi An, and more. So be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't, so you catch my stories and food recommendations from all of those places coming very soon. But while pho and banh mi might be globally known, I think my favorite dishes I tried in Hanoi were actually 2 dishes that I had never heard of before in my entire life. In the USA, we don't have royalty, but the closest thing that we do have to modern political figures that are treated like royalty around the globe has to be the Obamas. Back in 2016, then President Barack Obama joined travel icon Anthony Bourdain for a meal in Hanoi. And even now, a whole decade later, the city is still buzzing about it. The meal they shared? Bun cha. And while I had no idea what bun cha even was, I knew that if I was going to try it for myself, that I was going to do so at the same place that it was eaten by Mr. Obama and Mr. Bourdain themselves. That place is called Banh Cha Huang Lian, and when you visit, they make it really easy to order exactly what Obama did. Why? Because right at the top of the menu, they showcase his meal called the Obama Combo, which consists of bun cha, a fried seafood roll, and a can of Hanoi beer. And wow, this blew my mind. Ultimately, bun cha is like char-grilled pork patties in a vinegar dipping sauce alongside noodles and veggies. But the part that surprised me the most is that the sauce itself and the pork patties are actually a little bit sweet. I mean, I would have never guessed that a meal like this would be sweet in Vietnam, but it is, and it was amazing. I ate this with such delight, and this meal actually even surpassed pho as my favorite sauce dish in Vietnam. So good. Later on, I actually visited another great bun cha restaurant in Hanoi known as Bun Cha Doc Kim. While this one was not visited by Obama, it has been recognized by Michelin several years in a row, and here you'll find another really solid portion of bun cha. I think the flavor here was perhaps a bit more tangy and smoky, and a bit less sweet than the first, but that just made for a really nice contrast between the two experiences. But regardless of where, be sure to get yourself some bun cha while you're in Hanoi, okay? You won't regret it. Even bun cha didn't compare to the meal that I had next, but I can confidently say that if I had known what I was getting myself into, I probably would never have tried this next meal in the first place. Throughout my stay, I kept hearing murmurs about this famous fish dish specific to Hanoi, and that it was something I absolutely had to try before I left the city. And while I knew that it was called cha ka, I didn't bother to learn what that translated to beforehand. See, cha ka essentially references turmeric marinated fish, and as I'm not usually a big fish person, I admit that once I found that out, I considered leaving. However, I am so glad that I didn't, because the flavor of this fish was absolutely unreal. I mean, it is grilled right in front of you along with some dill, and then it's served with some noodles and spices similar to what you get with pho or bun cha. The fish is so flaky and so soft and so flavorful. It really is a rare situation in which the taste of the thing is so much better than the appearance. I absolutely adored this. I easily ate everything that was placed in front of me, and if I had not waited to try cha ka until one of my very last nights in Hanoi, I would have been eating this constantly. It's truly that good. In fact, I adored pretty much everything that I ate in Hanoi. Because of that, I was feeling like a whole new man, and as such, I was becoming even more willing to try other things that I am normally not very interested in. I've saved perhaps the best for last, and that's a serious claim coming from someone like myself who does not typically drink coffee. The coffee culture in Vietnam is bananas. There are so many unique coffees, many of which feature very strong caffeine content and also a lot of sugar. The most iconic and unique coffee to Vietnam is probably egg coffee, which is the perfect case of another Vietnamese food or drink item that sounds pretty gross but is actually delicious. Even though it's called egg coffee, you're not just getting a raw egg dropped into your drink. You're actually getting a very sweet coffee with egg on top that has been whipped with sugar and condensed milk. To me, the egg portion tastes sort of similar to a thicker and sweeter whipped cream. The most famous egg coffee in Hanoi comes from Cafe Jiang, which is a cafe that was opened by the man who originally invented egg coffee way back in 1946. However, my personal favorite egg coffee actually comes from a chain with a very different vibe. This place is called Egg Yolk, and you can find a number of these shops throughout Hanoi. Across the board, this city truly is a coffee lover's paradise, which is something that I think a lot of people, including myself, are surprised to learn on their first visit, especially considering how popular tea is in many of the nearby countries. In truth, Vietnam is not just a coffee lover's paradise, it's all around a food and drink lover's paradise. And while Hanoi may have given me my first experiences with Vietnamese food, trust me when I say that they will absolutely not be my last.